How are you guys doing? Today is Friday, March 18th, 2022. I'm James Sims, and for this episode of The Elite, I'm going to review yesterday's Elite matchups and performances from Thursday, March 17th. And of course, before I preview today's matchups and performances, I'm going to take a quick step back and look at where we are in the 2022 calendar year. Looking at where we are in college basketball, there are 48 teams left, and by the end of today, we will be down to 32 as the second round of the tournament starts tomorrow. We are still in the first round. The women's tournament starts today as there are 64 teams right now, and by the end of today, there will be 48. Taking a look at what's going on the NBA side, a matchup took place between the two teams that aren't competing for a playoff spot this year, not to mention that we are still inching towards the NBA playoffs one day at a time. And over in Europe, we have now seen the end of the round of 16, as now the 8 teams that have been selected for the quarterfinal of the Europa League tournament have been selected, and we are about to enter yet another weekend. And of course, in this weekend, each team is moving 1 week closer to their specific domestic titles. Starting first with the men's March Madness bracket, as we are in the second day of the round of 64. But looking back to the first day of the round of 64, looking at the first matchup that took place, it would be the 6-11 matchup in the South region. This would take place against the 6 seed Colorado State Rams and the 11 seed Michigan Wolverines. This was the first game in Indianapolis. The 11 seed Wolverines would beat 6 seed Colorado State 75-63. They would win by 12 after outscoring Colorado State by 19 points in the second half. On the losing end of this matchup, the 6th seed Colorado State Rams were led in scoring by their starting forward, Deshaun Thomas. Their forward, their junior out of Durham, North Carolina, will go on to finish with 15 points, also with 2 steals in 24 minutes. He shot 5 for 9 from the field as he shot 5 for 7 from 3. With this win, on the winning end of this matchup, the 11th seed Michigan Wolverines were led in scoring by their starting center, Hunter Dickinson. Their starting sophomore out of Alexandria, Virginia, will go on to finish with 21 points, 6 rebounds, and 4 blocks in 35 minutes. He shot 8 for 10 from the field, and he would go on to make all 5 of his free throw attempts on the game. With this win, the 11 seed Michigan Wolverines will advance to the second round of this tournament, where they will face off against 3rd seed Tennessee. I'll get to that game in a second. And with this loss, the 6th seed Colorado State Rams from the Mountain West will finish their season with a 25-6 record. Taking a look at what happened with the 4-13 matchup in the Midwest region, the 4th seed Providence Friars would face off against the 13th seed South Dakota State Jackrabbits. This, of course, would be a matchup that took place in Buffalo. Sorry, it took me a second to get to there, but this was the first matchup that took place in Buffalo. In this matchup, Providence would end up beating South Dakota State 66-57. They won by 9 after outscoring the Jackrabbits by 8 in the first half. The Friars would win this game by 9 that's what I said. They outscored it by 8 in the first half. On the losing end of this matchup, the 13th seed Jackrabbits were led in scoring by their starting guard, Baylor Shireman. Their starting sophomore out of Aurora, Nebraska, would go on to finish with 18 points and 10 rebounds, and as he played all 40 minutes. He shot 7 for 17 from the field. He shot 3 for 8 from 3 and 1 for 2 from the foul line. On the winning end of this matchup, the 4th-ranked Providence Friars would be led in scoring by their starting forward Noah Horchler and their starting guard Al Durham. Horchler finished with 13 points, 9 rebounds, and 2 steals in 33 minutes. He shot 5 for 12 from the field, and he will go on to shoot a perfect 2 for 2 from the foul line. Al Durham finished with 13 points, 8 rebounds, and 6 assists in 29 minutes. He shot 5 for 12 from the field and 2 for 3 from the foul line. With this win, the 4th seed Providence Friars will advance to the next round of this, where they will face off against 12th-ranked Richmond in the Midwest region. With this loss, the 13th seed South Dakota State Jackrabbits out of the Summit League will finish their season with a 30-5 record. Taking a look at the 8-9 matchup in the West region, the Boise State Broncos of the Mountain West faced off against the Memphis Tigers of the American Athletic Conference. This will be the first matchup that took place in Portland. And in this matchup, the 9-seed Memphis Tigers would end up beating the 8-seed Boise State Broncos. They won this 64-53. They would end up winning by 11 after outscoring the Broncos by 19 in the first half. On the losing end of this matchup, the 8th-seed Boise State Broncos were led in scoring by their starting forward, Abu Kigab. Their starting senior out of Ontario will go on to finish with 20 points and 2 steals. He did all this in 34 minutes. He shot 6 for 16 from the field, 2 for 5 from 3, and 6 for 7 from the foul line. On the winning end of this matchup, the 9th-seed Memphis Tigers were led in scoring by their starting forward, DeAndre Williams. Their senior out of Houston, Texas, will go on to finish with 14 points and 5 rebounds. He did all of this in 32 minutes. He shot 7 for 8 from the field. Their elite forward off the bench, Imani Bates, would finish with 3 points in 3 minutes, as he only made 1 3 on the day. That was his only attempt. And this was his return from injury. With this win, the 9-seed Memphis Tigers will advance to the next round of this matchup, where they will face off against the 1-seed Gonzaga Bulldogs. And on the losing end of this matchup, the 8-seed Boise State Broncos will finish their season with a 27-8 record on the year. Taking a look now at the 1-16 matchup in the East between the Baylor Bears and the Norfolk State Spartans. The number 1 seed Baylor Bears would beat the Spartans 85-49. They would end up beating the Spartans by 36. This game would be taking place in Fort Worth, Texas, and in Baylor's home state. Baylor would win this matchup by 36 after they outscored Norfolk State by 16 in the first half and then by 20 in the second half. On the losing end of this matchup in their final game of the 21-22 season, the 16th ranked Norfolk State Spartans were led in scoring by their starting guard, Joe Bryant Jr. Their senior out of Norfolk, Virginia, will go on to finish with 15 points and 5 rebounds in 35 minutes. He shot 5 for 15 from the field, 2 for 4 from 3, and 3 for 4 from the foul line. On the winning end of this matchup, the top-ranked Baylor Bears, the defending March Madness champs, were led in scoring by their starting guard, Matthew Mayer. Their starting senior out of Austin, Texas, will go on to finish with 22 points, 6 rebounds, and a couple of steals in 27 minutes. He shot 8 for 12 from the field, 4 for 7 from 3, and a perfect 2 for 2 from the foul line. And also in this matchup, their starting guard, James Akinjo, their senior out of Oakland, California, would finish with 10 points and 10 assists in 35 minutes. He went on to shoot 2 for 6 from the field and a perfect 4 for 4 from the foul line, as he shot 2 for 5 from 3. With this win, the first seed defending champs Baylor Bears will advance to the second round of this matchup, as they will face off against the 8 seed UNC Tar Heels in the second round. On the losing end of this matchup, the 16 seed Norfolk State Spartans from the Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference will finish their 2021-22 season with a 24-7 record. Now taking a look at the 3-14 matchup in the South region. This featured the 3-seed Tennessee Volunteers and the 14-seed Longwood Lancers. This matchup would be taking place in Indianapolis. This was the second one after Michigan and Colorado State. In this matchup, Tennessee would end up beating Longwood 88-56. They won this matchup by 32 after they outscored Longwood by 25 in the first half and then by 7 in the second. On the losing end of this matchup, the 14th seed Longwood Lancers were led in scoring by their starting guard, Justin Hill. Their sophomore out of Houston, Texas, will go on to finish with 13 points, 4 steals, and 5 turnovers in 27 minutes. He shot 4 for 12 from the field, 3 for 6 from 3, and he would go on to shoot a perfect 2 for 2 from the foul line. On the winning end of this matchup, the third seed Tennessee Volunteers were led in scoring by their starting guard, Santiago Vescovi. Their starting junior out of Montevideo, Uruguay, will go on to finish with 18 points, 7 assists, and 4 steals. He did all this in 29 minutes. He shot 6 for 10 from the field. All of his makes came from 3. He was 6 for 8 from 3. With this win, the third seed Tennessee Volunteers will advance to the second round of this matchup, where they will face off against the 11th seed Michigan Wolverines in Indianapolis. On the losing end of this matchup, the 14th seed Longwood Lancers from the Big South Conference will finish their 2021-22 season with a 26-7 record on the year. Now, taking a look at the 5-12 matchup in the Midwest region, it featured the 5th seed Iowa Hawkeyes in the 12th ranked Richmond Spiders. This matchup was taking place in Buffalo, New York. This would be the second one after Providence had beat South Dakota State. In this matchup, the 12th seed Richmond Spiders would end up beating the 5th seed Iowa Hawkeyes in what would be one of the first upsets of the day. On the losing end of this matchup, the 5th seed Iowa Hawkeyes would be led in scoring by their starting forward Keegan Murray. Their sophomore out of Cedar Rapids, Iowa, would go on to finish with 21 points and 9 rebounds in 38 minutes. He shot 8 for 15 from the field and a perfect 5 for 5 from the foul line in his final game of the season, and quite possibly as an Iowa Hawkeye. On the winning end of this matchup, the 12th ranked Richmond Spiders were led in scoring by their starting guard, Jacob Gilliard. Their senior out of Kansas City, Missouri, will go on to finish with 24 points, 6 rebounds, and 6 assists, and as he played all 40 minutes. He shot 8 for 15 from the field, 4 for 7 from 3, and a perfect 4 for 4 from the foul line. Richmond starting forward, Tyler Burton, their junior out of Uxbridge, Massachusetts, will go on to finish with 18 points, 11 rebounds, 3 steals, and 5 turnovers in 40 minutes. He shot 4 for 11 from the field, 1 for 5 from 3, and 9 for 10 from the foul line. With this win, the 12th seed Richmond Spiders will advance to the next round of this tournament, where they will face off against 4th seed Providence in Buffalo. And with this loss, the 5th seed Iowa Hawkeyes of the Big Ten will finish their 2021-22 season with a 26-10 record. Taking a look now at the 1-16 matchup in the West region, the top-ranked Gonzaga Bulldogs would face off against the 16 seed Georgia State Panthers as they come from the Sun Belt Conference. Gonzaga would end up beating Georgia State 93-72 to advance to the second round after outscoring Georgia State by 19 points in the second half. On the losing end of this matchup in their final game of the season, the 16 seed Georgia State Panthers were led in scoring by their starting guard, Corey Allen. Their senior out of Ypsilanti, Michigan, will go on to finish with 16 points in 33 minutes. He shot 5 for 19 from the field, 4 for 10 from 3, and a perfect 2 for 2 from the foul line. On the winning end of this matchup, the first seed Gonzaga Bulldogs will be led in scoring by their starting forward, Drew Timme. Their starting junior out of Richardson, Texas, will go on to finish with 32 points. He also finished with 13 rebounds and 2 assists in 27 minutes. He shot 13 for 21 from the field and 6 for 13 from the foul line. Gonzaga starting freshman center Chet Holmgren out of Minneapolis, Minnesota, would finish with 19 points, 17 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 steals, and 7 blocks in 29 minutes. Holmgren shot 8 for 13 from the field, and he would shoot 3 for 5 from the foul line. With this win, the top seed Gonzaga Bulldogs will advance to the second round of this tournament. Their matchup will be the 9th seed Memphis Tigers. This matchup will be taking place in Portland. And then, of course, with this loss, the 16 seed Georgia State Panthers from the Sun Belt Conference will finish their 2021-22 season with an 18-11 record. Following this, looking at the 8-9 matchup in the East region, the 8th seed North Carolina Tar Heels would end up beating the 9th seed Marquette Golden Eagles. This matchup would end up being taking place in Fort Worth after Baylor had beaten Norfolk State. In this matchup, North Carolina had ended up beating Marquette 95-63. They would win this game by 32 after outscoring Marquette by 28 in the first half. On the losing end of this matchup, in their final game of the season, the 9th-ranked Marquette Golden Eagles were led in scoring by their starting forward, Olivier Maxence Prosper. Their freshman out of Montreal would go on to finish with 16 points in 27 minutes. He will go on to shoot 6 for 10 from the field and 4 for 8 from 3. On the winning end of this matchup, the 8th seed North Carolina Tar Heels were led in scoring by their starting forward, Brady Manick. Their starting senior out of Hurrah, Oklahoma, would finish with 28 points and 11 rebounds, as well as 2 blocks in 33 minutes. He would shoot 10 for 15 from the field, 5 for 10 from 3, and a perfect 3 for 3 from the foul line. Their starting guard, Caleb Love, their sophomore out of St. Louis, Missouri, would finish with 20 23 points in 34 minutes. He shot 6 for 15 from the field, 6 for 13 from three, and he shot 5 for 7 from the foul line. North Carolina starting forward Armando Bacot, their junior out of Richmond, Virginia, finished with 17 points and 10 rebounds in 28 minutes. He shot 6 for 13 from the field and a perfect 5 for 5 from the foul line. With this win, the 8-seed North Carolina Tar Heels out of the ACC will advance to the second round of this tournament. They will face off against the top seed Baylor Bears in Fort Worth tomorrow. And then, of course, on the losing end of this matchup, the 9-seed Marquette Golden Eagles out of the Big East will finish their 2021-22 season with a 19-13 record. Taking a look now at the 5-12 matchup in the West region, the 12-seed New Mexico State Aggies would end up beating the 5-seed UConn Huskies, as this matchup would be taking place in Buffalo right before the Arkansas-Vermont matchup. New Mexico State would end up beating UConn 70-63 to advance to the second round after they had outscored UConn by 10 in the first half. On the losing end of this matchup, the 5th seed UConn Huskies were led in scoring by their starting guard R.J. Cole in their final game of the season. Their senior from Union, New Jersey, would finish with 20 points in 36 minutes. He shot 7 for 15 from the field and a perfect 4 for 4 from the foul line. On the winning end of this matchup, the 12th-ranked New Mexico State Aggies were led in scoring by their starting guard, Teddy Allen. Their starting junior out of Phoenix, Arizona, would go on to finish with 37 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists, and 2 steals in 39 minutes. He shot 10 for 24 from the field, 4 for 7 from three, and he shot a perfect 13 for 13 from the foul line. With this win, the 12th seed New Mexico State Aggies out of the Western Athletic Conference will advance to the second round, where they will face off against 4th seed Arkansas in Buffalo. On the losing end of this matchup, the 5th seed UConn Huskies out of the Big East will finish their 2021-22 season with a 23-10 record. So now, with that said, taking a look at the 2-15 matchup in the East region, the Kentucky Wildcats of the SEC would face off against the 15-seed St. Peter's Peacocks. This matchup would be taking place in Indianapolis before Murray State, San Francisco. And the 15-seed St. Peter's Peacocks would end up being the big surprise of the day. They ended up beating the 2nd-seed Kentucky Wildcats 85-79 in overtime. They would go on to outscore Kentucky 14-8 by 6 in the overtime period to advance to the second round. On the losing end of this matchup, the 2nd-seed Kentucky Wildcats in their final game of the season were led in scoring by their starting forward, Oscar Tshiebouye. Their junior from the Congo would go on to finish with 30 points, 16 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals, and 2 blocks in what very well could have been his final game with the Kentucky Wildcats. In 43 minutes, he shot 11 for 16 from the field, and he shot 8 for 12 from the foul line. On the winning end of this matchup, the 15th-ranked St. Peter's Peacocks were led in scoring by their starting guard, Daryl Banks III. Their junior out of Los Angeles would go on to finish with 27 points in 37 minutes. He shot 9 for 19 from the field, 5 for 8 from three, and a perfect 4 for 4 from the foul line. Their guard off the bench, Doug Eater, their junior from Nutley, New Jersey, would go on to finish with 20 points in 25 minutes. He would go on to shoot 5 for 7 from the field. He would go on to shoot a perfect 2 for 2 from three, and he would go on to make all 8 of his free throws. With this win, the 15th-seed St. Peter's Peacocks will advance to the second round, where they will face off against the 7th-seed Murray State Racers in Indianapolis. And with this loss, the 2nd-seed Kentucky Wildcats from the SEC will finish their 2021-22 season with a 26-8 record. Now, following this matchup, taking a look at the 5-12 matchup in the East region, the 5th-seed St. Mary's Gaels would face off against the 12th-seed Indiana Hoosiers, who had already made it into this round after they had beat Wyoming in the play-in. St. Mary's would end up beating Indiana 82-53. They would win by 29 after outscoring Indiana by 12 in the first half, and then by 17 in the second half to make it to the second round. On the losing end of this matchup, the 12 seed Indiana Hoosiers were led in scoring by their starting forward, Trace Jackson Davis. In his final game of the season, the sophomore out of Greenwood, Indiana, will go on to finish with 12 points and 5 rebounds in 31 minutes. He shot 5 for 10 from the field and a perfect 2 for 2 from the foul line. On the winning end of this matchup, the 5th seed St. Mary's Gaels were led in scoring by their starting guard, Logan Johnson. Their senior from Mountain View, California, will go on to finish with 20 points, 6 rebounds, and 3 steals. He would do all of this in 34 minutes. He shot 8 for 13 from the field. He made his only three-pointer of the day, and he shot 3 for 4 from the foul line. With this win, the 5th seed St. Mary's Gaels from the West Coast Conference will advance to the second round, where they will face off against the 4th seed UCLA Bruins. And with this loss, the 12th seed Indiana Hoosiers from the Big Ten will finish their season with a 21-14 record. So following this, now taking a look at the 8-9 matchup in the Midwest region, the 8th seed San Diego State Aztecs would face off against the 9th seed Creighton Blue Jays. This matchup was, of course, taking place in Fort Worth. And in this matchup, Creighton would end up beating San Diego State 72-69. They will go on to win this matchup by 3 in overtime. And on the losing end of this matchup, in their final game of the season, the 8th seed San Diego State Aztecs were led in scoring by their starting guard, Matt Bradley. Their senior out of San Bernardino, California, will go on to finish with 16 points and 8 rebounds in 35 minutes. He shot 6 for 19 from the field. And on the winning end of this matchup, the 9th seed Creighton Blue Jays were led in scoring by their starting guard, Trey Alexander. Their freshman from Oklahoma City will go on to finish with 18 points and 5 assists, as well as 2 steals in 29 minutes. He shot 7 for 15 from the field and 4 for 5 from the foul line. Creighton's starting center, Ryan Kalkbrenner, their sophomore out of St. Louis, will go on to finish with 16 points and 10 rebounds in 40 minutes. He shot 5 for 8 from the field and a perfect 6 for 6 from the foul line. With this win, the 9 seed Creighton Blue Jays are now holding on to a 23-11 record coming out of the Big East. With this win, they will advance to the second round, where they will face off against the 1st seed Kansas Jayhawks from their bracket. With this loss, the 8th seed San Diego State Aztecs are now out of the Mountain West Conference, will finish their 2021-22 season with a 23-9 record. Now, taking a look at the 4-13 matchup in the West region, the 4th seed Arkansas Razorbacks would face off against the Vermont Catamounts. This would take place in Buffalo, New York, after New Mexico State had already beat UConn. In this matchup, the 4th seed Razorbacks would beat the 13th seed Catamounts at 75-71. They won by 4 after outscoring Vermont by 7 in the first half. On the losing end of this matchup, the 13th seed Vermont Catamounts were led in scoring by their starting forward, Ryan Davis, and their starting guard, Ben Shungu. Their starting forward, Ryan Davis, their senior out of Schaumburg, Illinois, will go on to finish with 20 points in 33 minutes. He shot 7 for 10 from the field, 4 for 5 from 3, and 2 for 4 from the foul line. Ben Shungu, their senior out of Vermont, will go on to finish with 20 points and 6 rebounds in 32 minutes. He shot 8 for 17 from the field, 2 for 5 from 3, and 2 for 3 from the foul line. On the winning end of this matchup, the 4th seed Arkansas Razorbacks were led in scoring by their starting guard, Stanley Umude. Their starting senior out of San Antonio, Texas, would go on to finish with 21 points, 9 rebounds, and 2 blocks. All of this in 40 minutes. He played the entire game. He shot 6 for 11 from the field, 3 for 4 from 3, and he would shoot a perfect 6 for 6 from the foul line. Also in their starting lineup before I move on, their starting forward, Jalen Williams, their sophomore out of Fort Smith, Arkansas, would finish with 13 points and 10 rebounds in 33 minutes. He shot 4 for 10 from the field, and he would go on to shoot 4 for 6 from the foul line. With this win, the 4th seed Arkansas Razorbacks will advance to the second round of the West Regional bracket within the March Madness tournament. Their next opponent will be the 12th seed New Mexico State. The Aggies, that will be tomorrow. And then taking a look at where the Catamounts sit. With this loss, the 13th seed Vermont Catamounts from the American East Conference will finish their season with a 28-6 record on the season. Now, continuing to take a looking at the 4-13 matchup that took place in the East region, the 4-seed UCLA Bruins would face off against the 13-seed Akron Zips. This matchup would be taking place in Portland after St. Mary's had beat Indiana. In this matchup, 4-seed UCLA would beat 13-seed Akron 57-53. They won by 4 points after outscoring Akron by 5 in the second half. And on the losing end of this matchup, the 13th ranked Akron Zips would be led in scoring by their starting guard, Xavier Castaneda. In his final game of the season, the junior out of Chicago, Illinois, would go on to finish with 18 points and 6 rebounds in 33 minutes. He shot 8 for 17 from the field. Akron starting forward, Enrique Freeman, their sophomore out of Cleveland, Ohio, will go on to finish with 14 points and 10 rebounds in 24 minutes. He shot 5 for 6 from the field and a perfect 4 for 4 from the foul line, as he fouled out in those 24 minutes. On the winning end of this matchup, the 4th seed UCLA Bruins were led in scoring by their starting guard, Tiger Campbell. Their junior out of Cedar Rapids, Iowa, will go on to finish with 16 points and 5 assists in 38 minutes. He shot 6 for 12 from the field, 3 for 6 from 3, and he would make his only free throw attempt on the day. With this win, the 4th seed UCLA Bruins out of the Pac-12 will advance to the second round of the East region. Their next matchup will be against the 5th seed St. Mary's Gaels, after St. Mary's had ended up beating Indiana. And then, of course, with this loss, the 13 seed Akron Zips will finish their 2021-22 season with a 24-10 record coming out of the Mid-American Conference. Now, taking a look at the 7-10 matchup in the East region, the 7-seed Murray State Racers would end up beating the 10-seed San Francisco Dons in overtime. They won 92-87 in that overtime stretch after outscoring San Francisco 19-14. On the losing end of this matchup, the 10th seed San Francisco Dons would be led in scoring by their starting guard, Jamari Bouyeya. Their senior out of Seaside, California, would finish with 36 points in 45 minutes. He shot 13 for 26 from the field. He would go on to shoot 4 for 12 from 3 and 6 for 8 from the foul line. On the winning end of this matchup, the 7th-ranked Murray State Racers out of the Ohio Valley Conference would be led in scoring by their starting forward, KJ Williams, additionally by their guard off the bench, Trey Hannibal. KJ Williams, their starting junior out of Cleveland, Mississippi, will go on to finish with 18 points and 7 rebounds in 39 minutes. He will go on to shoot 8 for 14 from the field. And then Trey Hannibal, their sophomore guard out of Elliott, South Carolina, would go on to finish with 18 points and 6 rebounds in 27 minutes as he fouled out in those 27 minutes. He shot 6 for 12 from the field, and he shot 6 for 7 from the foul line. Murray State's forward off the bench, Jordan Skipper Brown, their senior out of Little Rock, Arkansas, will go on to finish with 12 points and 10 rebounds in 18 minutes. He shot 2 for 3 from the field on the day. With this win, the 7-seed Murray State Racers will advance to the second round with a 31-2 record. Their next opponent will be the 15-seed St. Peter's Peacocks after they upset Kentucky. This match will be in Indianapolis tomorrow. And with this loss, the 10-seed San Francisco Dons from the West Coast Conference will finish their 2021-22 season with a 24-10 record. Last but not least, looking at the 1-16 matchup in the Midwest region, the top seed Kansas Jayhawks out of the Big Ten would face off against the 16-seed Texas Southern Tigers, who would end up beating Texas A&M Corpus Christi in the in the first 4 matchup game in order to earn this spot. And Kansas would end up beating Texas Southern 83-56. The Jayhawks would win this game by 27 after they outscored Texas Southern by 28 in the first half. And on the losing end of this matchup, the 16-seed Texas Southern Tigers out of the Southwestern Athletic Conference were led in scoring by their forward off the bench, John Walker III. Their senior forward out of Houston, Texas, would go on to finish with 13 points and 4 blocks in 22 minutes. He shot 5 for 11 from the field, 1 for 2 from 3, and a perfect 2 for 2 from the foul line. On the winning end of this matchup, the top-ranked Kansas Jayhawks would be led in scoring by their guard off the bench, Remy Martin. Thornton. Their senior guard out of Burbank, California, will go on to finish with 15 points and 2 steals in 21 minutes. He shot 6 for 8 from the field. He made his only three-pointer of the day, and he will go on to shoot 2 for 3 from the foul line. With this win, the top seed Kansas Jayhawks will advance to the second round of the tournament, as their next opponent will, of course, be the 9th-ranked Creighton Jayhawks after Creighton beat San Diego State. With this loss, the 16th seed Texas Southern Tigers will finish their 2021-22 seasons with a 19-3 record at the moment. So that is what college basketball is looking like at the moment. Taking a look at the matchups that are still set to go today, there is one top-ranked team that still has yet to play, as Arizona will face off against Wright State. Wright State made it here after beating Bryant in the first 4 matchup. And the winner of that matchup will face off against the winner between Seton Hall and TCU. Arizona Wright State is going to be at 7:27. Seton Hall TCU is going to be at 9:57 in San Diego. Staying within the South region, the 2-seed Villanova Wildcats out of the Big East will face off against 15-seed Delaware. In Pittsburgh, as this will be at 2:45. As the matchup before it, we'll see the 7-seed Ohio State Buckeyes face off against 10th-seed Loyola Chicago. Staying within this bracket today, the 4th-seed Illinois Fighting Illini will face off against 13th-seed University of Tennessee Chattanooga, as that will be at 6:50. The matchup after that will be featuring the 5th-seed Houston Cougars and 12th-seed UAB at 9:20. These matchups will be in Pittsburgh. Looking in the Midwest, which is Kansas's region, the 2nd-seed Auburn Tigers will face off against 15-seed Jacksonville State. This will be at 12:30 in Greenville, South Carolina. The second matchup of here, we'll see 7-seed USC face off against 10-seed Miami. Jumping to Milwaukee, the other city in this part of the bracket, 3rd-seed Wisconsin will face off against 14th-seed Colgate at 9:50. That will be after 6th-seed LSU faces off against 11th-ranked Iowa State in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Looking now in the West region, which is Gonzaga's region of the bracket, 2nd-seed Duke, my alma mater, will face off against 15th-seed Cal State Fullerton at 7:10. That will be before 7th-seed Michigan State faces off against 10th-seed Davidson. In San Diego, 3rd-seed Texas Tech will face off against Montana State at 1:45. As right after that at 4:15, 6th-seed Alabama will face off against 11th-seed Notre Dame. And in the East, the only 2 matchups that are left to play will be in Milwaukee, as at 2 o'clock, third seed Purdue will face off against 14th seed Yale, and then at 4:30, 6th seed Texas is going to face off against 11th seed Virginia Tech. By the end of today, there will only be 32 teams left remaining, and the round of 32 will get immediately started tomorrow. And once all of today's exhibitions are done, I will also do a preview for the round of 32. Taking a look now at the women's side of the bracket, looking at the matchups that are going to be taking place today. First, at 11:30 on ESPN2, 8th seed Miami is going to be facing off against 9th seed South Florida. This will be in the Greensboro region. In the Greensboro region, of course, the winner of this matchup will be facing off against the winner between 1st seed South Carolina and 16th seed Howard. Just to take a look at where these matchups are being played. I'm taking a look at 1:30 on ESPN2 in the Farrell Center in Waco, Texas. This will be the 7-10 matchup in the Wichita region between 7-seed Ole Miss and 10-seed South Dakota. Looking at the Wichita region, the winner of this matchup will face off against the winner between 2-seed Baylor and 15-seed Hawaii. At 1:30 on ESPN News in Carver Hawkeye Arena in Iowa City, Iowa. This will be the 7-10 matchup in the Greensboro region, as 7-seed Colorado will face off against 10-seed Creighton. The winner of this matchup will face off against the winner between 2-seed Iowa and 15-seed Illinois State. And taking a look at what's going on at 2 o'clock on ESPN, 1st seed South Carolina will face off against 6th seed Howard. That will be the second game in a row at Columbia. Winner of this matchup faces off between the winner of 8th seed Miami and 9th seed South Florida. At 2:30 on ESPNU in Xfinity Center in College Park, Maryland. This will be the 5-12 matchup in the Spokane region, as 5th seed Virginia Tech will face off against 12th seed Florida Gulf Coast. as within this region, the winner of this matchup will face off against the winner between Maryland and Delaware, which happens to, but I will continue to go on. At 3:30 on ESPN News, on the KFC Yum Center in Louisville, Kentucky, this will be the 8-9 matchup in the Wichita region, as 8-seed Nebraska will face off against 9-seed Gonzaga. In this Wichita region, the winner of this matchup will face off against the winner between 1-seed Louisville and 16-seed Albany. At 4 o'clock on ESPN2 in the Farrell Center in Waco, Texas, we will see the hometown 2-seed Baylor Bears face off against the 15-seed Hawaii Golden Warriors in the first round of this Wichita bracket. The winner of this match will face off against the winner between 7-seed Ole Miss and 10-seed South Dakota. Taking a look at what's going on at 4 o'clock at the same time on ESPN in Carver Hawkeye Arena in Iowa City. 2nd-seed Iowa will face off against 15-seed Illinois State in the Greensboro region, as, of course, the winner of this matchup will be facing off against the winner of 7-seed Colorado and 10th-seed Creighton. At 5 o'clock on ESPNU and Xfinity Center, we will see the 4-13 matchup in the Spokane region, as 4-seed Maryland faces off against 13-seed Delaware in College Park, Maryland. And the winner of this matchup will face off against the winner between 5th-seed Virginia Tech and 12th-seed Florida Gulf Coast. At 5:30 on ESPN News in Frank Erwin Center in Austin, Texas, this will be the 7-10 matchup in the Spokane region between 7-seed Utah and 10-seed Arkansas. In this region, the winner of this matchup will face off against the winner between 2-seed Texas and 15-seed Fairfield. Jumping to what's going on at 6 o'clock on ESPN2 in the KFC Yum Center in Louisville. This will be the matchup that sees the number 1 seed in this bracket, the Louisville Cardinals, face off against 16-seed Albany in Louisville, like I said, in their home city. The winner of this matchup will be facing off against the winner of Nebraska and Gonzaga, the 8-9 matchup in that bracket. At 7:30 on ESPNU in Maples Pavilion in Stanford, California, the 8-seed Kansas Jayhawks will end up facing off against the 9-seed Georgia Tech in Spokane's 8-9 matchup. The winner of this matchup will face off against the winner between 1-seed Stanford and 16-seed Montana State. Taking a look at 7:30 now at the same time at 7:30 in the James H. Hilton Coliseum in Ames, Iowa. This will be the 6-11 matchup in the Greensboro region, as 6-seed Georgia faces off against 11-seed Dayton. Is in this Greensboro region. The winner of this matchup will face off against the winner between 3rd-seed Iowa State and 14-seed UT Arlington. At 8 o'clock on ESPN2 in the Frank Erwin Center in Austin, Texas, we are going to see the 2-15 matchup in the Spokane region between 2-seed Texas and 15-seed Fairfield. As, of course, the winner of this matchup will face off against the winner between 7-seed Utah and 10-seed Arkansas. At 10 o'clock on ESPN2 in Maples Pavilion in Stanford, California, we will see the 1-16 matchup in the Spokane region, as top seed Stanford faces off against 16-seed Montana State. The winner of this matchup faces off against the winner between Kansas and Georgia State. And then last but not least, at 10 o'clock on ESPNU, it will be the 3-14 matchup in the Greensboro region between Iowa State and UT Arlington in the James H. Hilton Coliseum in Ames, Iowa, as the winner of this matchup will face off against the winner between 6-seed Georgia and 11-seed Dayton. That is what college basketball is looking like today, as of course we are in the height of March Madness. Taking a look at what basketball is looking like at the professional level at the NBA. Starting off in Orlando, the Orlando Magic hosted the Detroit Pistons. The Pistons would end up beating the Magic 134-120. They would end up winning this game by 14 after they would outscore the Magic by 13 in the second quarter. On the losing end of this matchup, the hometown Orlando Magic would be led in scoring by their starting small forward out of Michigan, their rookie Franz Wagner. He finished with 26 points, 5 rebounds, and 2 assists in 31 minutes. He would go on to shoot 10 for 15 from the field, 2 for 3 from 3, and 4 for 5 from the foul line. And then their center their starting center, Mo Bamba, would finish with 10 points and 12 rebounds in 25 minutes. He shot 4 for 8 from the field, 1 for 2 from 3, and 1 for 2 from the foul line. On the winning end of this matchup, the Detroit Pistons would be led in scoring by their starting small forward, Saddiq Bey. He finished with 51 points, 9 rebounds, 4 assists, and 3 steals in 39 minutes. He shot 17 for 27 from the field. He shot 10 for 14 from 3, and he shot 7 for 10 from the foul line. The Pistons starting power forward out of Duke, Marvin Bagley III, would finish with 20 points, 11 rebounds, 2 steals as well in 32 minutes. He shot 7 for 15 from the field, 2 for 5 from 3 as well. And then their starting center, Isaiah Stewart, would finish with 16 points and 10 rebounds in 30 minutes. He shot 7 for 10 from the field and 2 for 3 from the foul line. With this win, the Detroit Pistons are 19-51. That is currently the second worst record in the Eastern Conference, and that is currently the third worst record in the NBA. The Pistons have now won 5 of their last 10 games. They currently sit 15 and a half games behind the 10th seed Atlanta Hawks out east, and they're one of 2 teams that have been effectively eliminated from playoff contention as of today. And of course, with this loss, the Orlando Magic are now 18-53. That is now the worst record in the Eastern Conference and the second worst record in the NBA. Only the Rockets have a worse record than the Magic. The Magic have lost their last 3 games, and they've lost 6 of their last 10. They are currently sitting 17 games behind the 10 seed Atlanta Hawks outside the Eastern Conference playoffs. And the Magic and the Pistons, like I said, they're the only 2 teams outside of the playoff picture, just to get a sense of where they are. And that was the only game that happened yesterday. And while everyone was watching college basketball, Saddiq Bey dropped 50 points. Taking a look at what's going on today, because today is Friday, the 2 primetime the 2 primetime matches are going to be on NBA TV. At 7:30, the Atlanta Hawks, who are currently holding the 10th best record in the East, are going to host the Memphis Grizzlies, who are holding the 2nd best record in the Western Conference and in the NBA. Coming into this matchup, the Hawks have won 6 of their last 10. They sit half a game behind the 9th place Charlotte Hornets. Coming into this matchup, the Memphis Grizzlies have won their last 4 games. They've won 7 of their last 10. They sit 8 games behind the NBA leading Phoenix Suns. The second primetime matchup will feature the NBA leading Phoenix Suns as they host the Chicago Bulls, who hold the 5th best record in the NBA, or in the Eastern Conference, after the Bulls at one point were leading the conference. Coming into this matchup, the hometown team, the Phoenix Suns, have won their last 3 games. They've won 7 of their last 10 as they sit 8 games ahead of the second place Grizzlies. The Suns are the only team in the NBA that still to this day that has clinched a playoff spot. Coming into this matchup on the road, the Chicago Bulls enter this matchup having lost their last 2 and 7 of their last 10. They are currently sitting 4.5 games behind the first seed Miami Heat. And then taking a look at the games that aren't on primetime, at 7 o'clock, the Philadelphia 76ers are going to host the Dallas Mavericks. At 7:30, the New York Knicks are going to host the Washington Wizards. And at the same time, the Toronto Raptors are going to host the Los Angeles Lakers. The Brooklyn Nets are going to host the Portland Trailblazers. And the Cleveland Cavaliers are going to host the Denver Nuggets. At 8 o'clock, the Miami Heat are going to host the Oklahoma City Thunder at FTX Arena. At the same time, the Houston Rockets, who hold the worst record in the NBA, are going to host the Indiana Pacers at the Toyota Center. At 8:30, the San Antonio Spurs are going to host the New Orleans Pelicans, who hold the 10th best record in the West. This is going to be in the AT&T Center. At 9 o'clock, the Utah Jazz are going to host the LA Clippers in Vivint Arena. And then at the same time, or just 1 hour later, the Sacramento Kings are going to host the Boston Celtics. That is what the NBA is looking like as we are taking the league on one day at a time. Not to mention, looking at what happened yesterday in the world of soccer, the big matchups that happened yesterday were in Europa League. As going down the line, RB Leipzig advanced past Spartak Moscow because obvious reasons. Braga would end up advancing past AS Monaco 3-1 with a 1-1 draw yesterday. Atalanta would end up beating Bayer Leverkusen 1-0 to advance to the quarterfinals on a 2-4 aggregate. Barcelona would end up beating Galatasaray 2-1 after Galatasaray scored the first goal of the game. Coming into this matchup with a 0-0 aggregate, trailing, Barcelona would tie up Galatasaray in the 37th minute with a goal from their elite Spanish midfielder Pedri. And then Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang would score in the 49th minute to put Barcelona up and help them win 2-1 to advance to the quarterfinal round. Rangers would end up they would end up falling short to Belgrade for the game 2-1, but they would end up winning 4-2 on aggregate to advance. In Frankfurt, Eintracht Frankfurt would host Real Betis. Coming into this matchup, Eintracht Frankfurt held a 2-1 advantage, and because it was a 1-1 draw, Eintracht Frankfurt would win this matchup with a 3-2 aggregate score. Lyon would end up drawing with Porto 1-1, but because they had the 1-goal advantage, they would end up advancing past Porto on a 2-1 aggregate. West Ham would end up beating Sevilla 2-1 on aggregates after they would beat Sevilla 2-0 to come from behind and then score in the 112th minute with a goal from Andriy Yarmolenko in the 112th minute to help them advance to the quarterfinals. But that's everything that leads into today. And looking at what's going on today, the big matchups are really kind of coming up this weekend as there's not much going on. But at the same time, I want to thank everyone for following along with me as we navigate through the world of sports, especially through March Madness, one day at a time. Today is Friday, March 18th, 2022. I'm James Sims, and this is The Elite. Thanks for listening to my piece. I really do hope all is well, and I will catch you with another episode of this tomorrow once everything is done. Thanks for listening, and I'll catch you with another piece. Peace out.